We live in a world where everything feels urgent, where we measure our lives by clocks, deadlines, and expectations. We want things to happen now, on our terms. But have you ever noticed that life rarely unfolds according to our plans? There is an unseen rhythm, a divine timing guiding everything. We struggle because we believe we are in control. We think that by pushing harder, worrying more, or manipulating circumstances, we can bend time to our will. But what if the very delays we resist are part of something greater, something perfectly designed for us? God is not bound by time as we are. What appears as a delay is often preparation, and what seems like a setback is a setup for something better. The secret is learning to trust, to let go of our need to control, and to flow with the divine plan. Only then can we truly experience peace, knowing that God is always in control. We live in a world where everything feels urgent, where we measure our lives by clocks, deadlines, and expectations. We want things to happen now, on our terms. But have you ever noticed that life rarely unfolds according to our plans? There is an unseen rhythm, a divine timing, guiding everything. We struggle because we believe we are in control. We think that by pushing harder, worrying more, or manipulating circumstances, we can bend time to our will. But what if the very delays we resist are part of something greater, something perfectly designed for us? God is not bound by time as we are. What appears as a delay is often preparation, and what seems like a setback is a setup for something better. The secret is learning to trust, to let go of our need to control, and to flow with the divine plan. Only then can we truly experience peace, knowing that God is always in control. We are like a man standing at the shore, staring at the ocean, demanding that the waves come faster. But the ocean does not hurry, and yet it is never late. It moves according to a rhythm that has existed before time itself, a rhythm that does not ask for our permission or approval. In the same way, God's timing does not require our understanding. It simply is. The more we resist, the more we suffer. The more we trust, the more we find freedom. Think of the seasons. A tree does not question why winter must come before spring. It does not resist the cold, nor demand that the flowers bloom before their time. And yet, when the time is right, buds emerge, leaves unfurl, and fruit appears. This is the way of all things. There is a time for growth, a time for stillness, a time for waiting, and a time for harvest. When we rush, when we force, when we grasp at life with anxious hands, we only disturb the process. But when we surrender, we align ourselves with the divine order of things. This is where faith begins. Faith is not about demanding signs or seeing the whole picture. It is about walking forward, even when the path is unclear, even when the answers have not yet come. It is about trusting that if God placed a desire in your heart, He has also set in motion everything needed to fulfill it, just not always in the way or the time you expect. Imagine a child watching a caterpillar in its cocoon, eager for the butterfly to emerge. In his impatience, he pries it open, believing he is helping. But in doing so, he ruins the process. The butterfly needed the struggle, the waiting, the unseen transformation inside the cocoon. It needed time. We too are often in a cocoon of transformation, and when we try to rush what God is doing, we miss the beauty of what was meant to be. There is a great paradox here. The more we try to control, the more life slips through our fingers. The more we trust, the more life unfolds effortlessly. You have seen it before, how sometimes when you stop worrying, the solution appears. When you let go, the answer comes. This is not coincidence. This is the nature of divine timing. Perhaps you are in a season of waiting, wondering why God has not answered, why the doors remain closed, why things seem to be moving so slowly. But what if this waiting is a gift? What if this time is refining you, strengthening you, preparing you for something far greater than what you had originally planned? A delay is not a denial. A closed door is not the end of the story. When the time is right, what is meant for you will come, and no force in this world will be able to stop it. Look back at your life. How many times have you worried over something, only to later realize that things worked out far better than you expected? How often have you seen that what you thought was a disappointment was actually a blessing in disguise? We cannot always see it in the moment, but hindsight reveals that every twist and turn was necessary. What if you could trust that now, in this very moment? What if, instead of resisting, you chose to rest in the certainty that God is in control? Trust is not passive. It is an active surrender, a deep knowing that whatever happens, whether fast or slow, whether clear or confusing, God is working for your good. The universe is not random, and your life is not an accident. Every piece of the puzzle is falling into place, even when you cannot see the full picture. The challenge is to wait with faith rather than with fear, to trust the process rather than fight against it. Let go of your timeline. Release your grip on how you think things should unfold. Step into the flow of divine timing, knowing that whatever is meant for you will arrive precisely when it is supposed to. Life is not something to be controlled, but something to be lived. And when you surrender, when you trust, when you embrace the mystery, you will find that God's timing was never late. It was always perfect. We live under the illusion that we are in control. We set goals, make plans, map out our futures with careful precision, and convince ourselves that if we just try hard enough, we can force life to bend to our will. But the more we cling to control, the more we realize how little of it we truly have. Things don't always go according to plan. Doors we expect to open remain shut. The opportunities we think should come never arrive on our timeline. We find ourselves waiting, frustrated, questioning whether God has forgotten us. But what if the delays, the detours, the unexpected turns are not obstacles, but part of a perfect design? God's plan is not something we can manipulate. It is not a formula where if we say the right prayers, do the right things, and follow the right steps, everything will happen exactly when we want it to. His timing is beyond our comprehension because it is not bound by the same limitations we see. We exist in the moment, struggling to understand why things are unfolding the way they are. But God sees the entire picture, the past, the present, and the future, all at once. What appears to us as a delay is often divine alignment, a preparation we cannot yet perceive. Think of a seed planted deep in the soil. To the outside world, nothing seems to be happening. Days pass, weeks, maybe even months, and there is no visible sign of life. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary is taking place. The roots are stretching downward, strengthening, preparing to support the growth that is coming. If the seed were to be pulled out too soon, it would never reach its full potential. So it is with us. We are so eager to see results, to experience growth, to witness the manifestation of our desires, that we sometimes forget the importance of what is happening beneath the surface. God is working even when we cannot see it. Patience is not simply about waiting, it is about trusting. It is about believing that even when nothing seems to be changing, something is happening in the unseen. It is about knowing that the waiting is not wasted, that the struggles are not meaningless, that every moment of delay serves a greater purpose. The caterpillar does not rush the transformation into a butterfly. It does not tear open the cocoon before its wings are ready. It waits, it surrenders, it allows the process to unfold exactly as it was designed to, and when the time is right, it emerges, stronger and more beautiful than before. We resist this truth because we fear the unknown. We want certainty, guarantees, a clear roadmap. But faith is not about certainty. It is about trust. It is about stepping forward even when the path is unclear, about believing that even in the darkness, God is guiding us toward the light. It is about surrendering the need to control and instead embracing the mystery of divine timing. Consider the waves of the ocean. They rise, they fall, they move in perfect harmony with a force far greater than themselves. They do not struggle against their nature. They do not demand that the tide come in before it is time. They simply exist in the flow, in the rhythm, of something beyond them. Imagine if we could live this way, not in resistance, but in surrender, not in fear, but in faith, trusting that just as the waves follow the rhythm of the sea, our lives are unfolding according to a divine rhythm far beyond our understanding. The greatest moments in life often come when we least expect them. The job opportunity we never saw coming, the relationship that arrives at the perfect moment, the breakthrough that happens when we finally stop forcing things to happen on our own terms. This is the beauty of divine timing. It does not require our effort, our worry, or our anxiety. It requires only our trust. Perhaps you are in a season of waiting. Perhaps you have been praying, hoping, believing, and yet the answers have not come. But what if, instead of questioning why, you embraced where you are? What if, instead of resisting, you allowed yourself to trust that everything is happening exactly as it should? What if the waiting is not a punishment, but a preparation? What if this moment is not about what you are waiting for, but about who you are becoming in the process? God's timing is not our timing, but it is always perfect. When we stop trying to control it, when we release our grip on how we think things should unfold, we open ourselves to something far greater than we could have imagined. Life is not something to be controlled, but something to be lived. And when we trust, when we surrender, when we embrace the truth that God is always in control, we find peace. Not in knowing every answer, but in knowing we are exactly where we are meant to be. We often find ourselves caught between two forces, our deep desire to move forward and the undeniable reality that things are not happening as quickly as we wish. We live in an age of urgency, where waiting feels like wasted time, where delays feel like denials. We want immediate answers, instant results, and quick resolutions. But in our rush to see things unfold, we forget that time itself is not in our hands. We are not the authors of our own destiny, nor are we the masters of divine timing. We are passengers in a greater story, a story written by God long before we took our first breath. There is a certain beauty in understanding that control is an illusion. We plan, we strategize, we work tirelessly to shape our future. But how often do things truly go exactly as we envisioned? More often than not, life takes unexpected turns. The doors we are certain will open remain closed. The opportunities we chase slip through our fingers, and in these moments we feel abandoned, questioning whether God is listening, whether He sees our struggles, whether He cares. But what if these delays are not rejections? What if they are redirections, designed to guide us towards something far greater than what we had in mind? Consider the nature of time. From our perspective, it is linear. We see the past, we exist in the present, and we anticipate the future. But God is not bound by this perception. He sees all things at once, every possibility, every outcome, every consequence of our choices. What may seem like an unnecessary delay to us is in truth divine precision. Every moment, every event, every waiting season is part of a tapestry that we cannot yet see in its entirety. A masterpiece cannot be rushed. Every stroke, every detail, every color is placed with intention. And so it is with our lives. Think of a musician playing a song. If he rushes the notes, if he tries to reach the end too quickly, the music loses its rhythm, its beauty, its depth. The pauses between notes, the rests in the melody, are just as important as the sounds themselves. Without them there is no harmony. Our lives, too, must follow a rhythm, a divine rhythm. The pauses, the waiting, the moments of stillness are not empty. They are the spaces where God is preparing us, refining us, teaching us patience, trust, and surrender. There is a reason why flowers do not bloom before their time. If you try to force a bud to open before it is ready, you destroy it. Growth cannot be rushed. The same is true for the plans God has for us. If we were to receive everything we asked for exactly when we wanted it, we would not be prepared to handle it. We would not have the wisdom, the strength, the character to sustain it. The waiting is not a punishment. It is a preparation. It is God ensuring that when the blessing comes, we are ready to receive it fully. Trusting God's timing means releasing the fear that we are falling behind. It means understanding that there is no such thing as being too late when we are walking in alignment with His plan. The world will tell you that time is running out, that you need to rush, that you need to push harder, fight more, take matters into your own hands. But faith is not about striving. It is about surrender. It is about knowing that what is meant for you will not pass you by, that every door that is truly yours will open at exactly the right moment, and no force in this world can keep it closed. Perhaps you are in a season of uncertainty, feeling as though nothing is moving, as though your prayers have gone unanswered. But instead of asking, "Why is this taking so long?" consider asking, "What is God teaching me in this season? What strength, what wisdom, what patience is He cultivating in you right now that you will need for the road ahead?" We do not see the full picture, but He does, and if we could truly grasp the depth of His wisdom, we would not rush. We would rest in the assurance that everything is happening exactly as it should. Let go of the need to control. Release the worry, the frustration, the fear that you are being left behind. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be. Trust that what is for you will come, and it will come at the perfect time. Trust that God in His infinite wisdom is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet comprehend. And when the time is right, when you are truly ready, you will step into the blessing that was always meant for you. Life has a way of reminding us that we are not in control. No matter how carefully we plan, how much effort we put in, or how badly we want things to happen on our schedule, we find ourselves faced with moments of delay, uncertainty, and unexpected detours. It is in these moments that we question whether God is listening, whether He sees our struggles, whether He understands the urgency we feel. But the truth is, God is not bound by time the way we are. He is not pressured by our deadlines or limited by our perspective. What feels like a delay to us is often divine timing in disguise. We want answers now. We want doors to open now. We want to move forward now. We want to move forward now. We want to move forward now. But what if the very thing we are waiting for requires preparation, not just in the circumstances around us, but within us? God does not simply give us what we ask for. He gives us what we are ready for. And readiness is not determined by our impatience. It is determined by our growth. Just as a fruit ripens in its own time, just as a baby in the womb cannot be rushed into birth, just as the stars move in perfect harmony without ever colliding, there is a divine order to everything. Trusting God's timing is not just about waiting. It is about surrender. It is about understanding that what is meant for us will not pass us by. We do not have to force it, chase it, or manipulate it into happening. If God has ordained something for our lives, it will come to us at the appointed time, no sooner and no later. But the waiting often feels uncomfortable because it requires faith. Faith that even when nothing seems to be happening, something is. Faith that even when we cannot see the path ahead, the path is being prepared. There is a peace that comes when we stop resisting and start trusting. The ocean does not resist the pull of the tide. It does not fight against the moon that controls its rhythm. It simply moves as it was created to move. Imagine if we lived with that same level of trust. Trust that we do not have to control everything. Trust that we do not have to know every detail of the plan. Trust that every delay, every closed door, every unexpected turn is leading us somewhere better than we could have imagined. There are times when God delays things to protect us. We may not realize it in the moment, but sometimes the things we so desperately want would not serve us well if they arrive too soon. A bird does not leave the nest until its wings are strong enough to fly. A storm does not pass until it has fulfilled its purpose. There is wisdom in the waiting, even when we do not understand it. And yet we often resist it, fearing that waiting means being forgotten. But God's silence is not absence. His delays are not denials. Think of a potter shaping clay. If the clay resists, if it hardens too soon, it becomes impossible to mold. But if it remains soft, if it allows the potter to shape it, It becomes something beautiful. We too are being shaped. We are in the hands of the Creator, and every experience, every moment of waiting, every unanswered prayer is part of that shaping process. To resist is to delay the beauty of what is being formed within us. To surrender is to trust that the end result will be far greater than anything we could have created on our own. Perhaps you find yourself in a place of uncertainty, wondering why things are taking so long, why the breakthrough has not come, why the answers feel out of reach. But what if this season is not about the outcome, but about who you are becoming in the process? What if this waiting period is strengthening your faith, refining your character, and preparing you for something beyond your wildest dreams? We do not see the full picture, but God does, and if we could glimpse even a fraction of what He has planned, we would not worry. We would rejoice in the waiting. The world teaches us to rush, to strive, to fear being left behind, but God's timing is not like the world's timing. God's timing is not like the world's timing. He is never late, never early, always right on time. The doors that are meant to open will open. The opportunities that are meant to come will come. The prayers that align with His will are already being answered in ways we cannot yet see. When we trust this, truly trust it, we stop striving and start resting. We stop worrying and start worshiping. We stop fighting against the flow of life and start moving with it. So let go. Let go of the need to control, the need to have all the answers, the need to see every step ahead. You are exactly where you need to be, and everything is unfolding exactly as it should. When the time is right, everything will fall into place, not because you forced it, but because God ordained it. And when that moment comes, you will realize that the waiting was never a waste. It was a gift, a preparation, a lesson in faith. And in that moment, you will understand that God was in control all along. We spend so much of our lives chasing after certainty, trying to control the outcomes, desperately attempting to force things to happen on our own terms. But no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we strive, life has a way of reminding us that we are not in control. The job opportunity we were sure would come through falls apart. The relationship we thought was meant to last comes to an end. The breakthrough we have prayed for seems delayed beyond reason. In these moments we feel frustrated, abandoned, even afraid. We ask, why isn't this happening? Why is God making me wait? But perhaps the better question is, what is God doing in this season of waiting? There is a divine order to everything, a perfect sequence that we cannot always perceive. The sun does not rise before its time. The tides do not move out of rhythm. A tree does not bear fruit in the middle of winter. All of creation moves according to an unseen harmony, a timing that is not rushed, not forced, but simply right. And yet we, in our human nature, resist this truth. We want things now. We want our prayers answered immediately. We want the pain to end, the uncertainty to disappear, the doors to open without delay. But if we could see what God sees, we would not rush, we would rest. Waiting is not wasted time, it is preparation. Just as an athlete trains before the race, just as a musician practices before the concert, just as a farmer tends to the soil long before the harvest, there are seasons of growth that must happen before the blessing arrives. We may not understand why we are waiting, but God does. Perhaps He is building in us the patience we will need for the next chapter. Perhaps He is refining our character, removing distractions, strengthening our faith. Or perhaps He is simply aligning the circumstances, making sure that when we step into the blessing, everything will be as it should be. Trusting God's timing means surrendering the illusion of control. It means releasing the anxiety, the need to force things, the fear that we are somehow falling behind. But how can we be behind when we are walking in step with the Creator of time itself? If God is leading us, then every delay, every closed door, every unexpected turn is part of His perfect plan. The problem is not that things are taking too long. The problem is that we have not yet learned to trust. Think of a child in the back seat of a car impatiently asking, "Are we there yet?" The child cannot see the road ahead. The child does not know how far the journey is or what dangers may be avoided by the driver's careful timing. All the child sees is that they are not there yet, but the parent, the one who holds the wheel, knows exactly where they are going. The child's impatience does not change the destination. The only thing it affects is their experience of the journey, and so it is with us. When we worry, when we stress, when we try to control what is beyond our power, we do not change the outcome. We only rob ourselves of peace along the way. There is freedom in trust. There is peace in surrender. When we stop trying to force our own timing and instead lean into God's perfect plan, we find a new way of living, one that is not burdened by worry but lifted by faith. The right doors will open at the right time. The opportunities meant for us will come when we are truly ready. The answers will arrive not a moment too soon or a moment too late, but precisely when they should. So let go of the rush. Let go of the fear that you are missing out, that time is slipping away, that God has forgotten you. He has not. He never has, and He never will. What is meant for you will come to you, and when it does, you will look back and realize that every moment of waiting was not a delay. It was a divine preparation. God is in control. Trust Him. Trust His timing, and rest in the knowledge that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. My friends, there comes a time in each of our lives when we must face the truth. Not all spirits are in harmony with our own. There are those among us who, despite their appearance, their words, and their smiles, carry a spirit that does not nurture life, but rather drains it. These people, in their pursuit of their own darkness, will feed on your light. And so God whispers to you, perhaps not in words, but in a deeper knowing, you must walk away. You see, there is a profound truth that we often overlook in this world of noise and distractions. Your energy is sacred. It is like water flowing through the veins of your existence. And when you give it away indiscriminately, when you share it with those whose souls do not seek the same kind of peace, your flow becomes muddy. Your essence begins to evaporate, leaving you parched, barren, disconnected. My friends, there comes a time in each of our lives when we must face an uncomfortable but essential truth. Not all spirits are in harmony with our own. Throughout our journey we meet countless individuals, and not every one of them is meant to walk the path with us. Some may seem friendly, their words sweet, their faces kind, yet beneath the surface lies something far more insidious. There are those among us who, despite their appearance, their charming smiles, or their seemingly innocent demeanor, carry a spirit that does not nourish life, but rather drains it. These people often unknowingly carry within them a darkness, a deep, unresolved energy that feeds off of your light. And we must recognize this truth when it arrives. You see, God, in His infinite wisdom, speaks to each of us in ways that often elude our understanding. It is not always in clear, audible words, but through the deep whispers of our intuition, through the subtle nudges of our soul. God speaks to you in that quiet inner knowing, that gentle pull urging you to move away, to distance yourself from certain energies that are incompatible with your growth. The more you turn from your past and search for new paths and connections, the more incompatible with your growth. Sometimes we dismiss this voice, thinking it too harsh or unfounded. But the truth is, it is a divine message, a reminder that there are energies in this world that can not only disrupt your peace, but actively hinder your growth. When you feel that instinct to walk away from certain people, trust it. It is not out of malice, nor is it a rejection of their humanity. It is simply an acknowledgement that their spirit does not align with your own. Sometimes walking away isn't an act of cruelty, but an act of profound self-preservation. It is a reminder that your soul is just as worthy of protection as the person who seeks to harm it, knowingly or unknowingly. We often forget that our energy is sacred. It is like water flowing through the veins of our existence, quietly sustaining us, nourishing us. But when we are constantly surrounded by individuals whose energy is toxic or destructive, it is as if that water becomes contaminated. Instead of flowing freely, it becomes muddied, polluted with negativity, with doubt, with fear. And we can feel it, can't we? That heaviness, that drain, it seeps into our spirit, into our hearts, until we are left feeling lost, confused, disconnected from the source of our true being. When we give our energy away indiscriminately, when we share it with those whose souls do not seek peace, it is as though we are throwing it into a dark, bottomless well. We keep giving, keep pouring, and yet nothing is returned. The essence of who we are begins to evaporate, like water in a desert. And eventually we find ourselves parched. We find ourselves barren, stripped of our vitality, unable to connect with the world in the way we once did. We become disconnected not only from others, but from the divine source that has always sustained us. But there is a power in recognizing this truth. There is a power in acknowledging that not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Not every relationship is worth the energy you give. And this is where God steps in once more, guiding you, urging you, and sometimes even forcing you to walk away. It is not a rejection of others, but a love for yourself. It is a reminder that we all have a right to preserve our peace, to protect what is sacred inside of us. The truth, my friends, is that walking away isn't always easy. It isn't always simple. It isn't always straightforward. We often find ourselves entangled in complicated webs of relationships, obligations, and guilt. But it is in those moments, when we feel that pull to leave, to break free from the toxic patterns, that we are being invited into something greater. We are being invited to reclaim our power, to return to our true self, to rediscover our connection to the divine flow that moves through us all. This is not to say that you abandon others in their time of need. That is not the message here. But it is a reminder that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help others if you are constantly drained. You cannot guide others if your own spirit is stumbling in the dark. Sometimes the greatest act of kindness, the most loving thing you can do for another, is to create the space for them to heal on their own, to grow on their own, to seek their own path without pulling you down with them. And so when you feel that pull to walk away, trust it. Trust that it is a divine direction. Trust that God is guiding you to places, to people, and to experiences that will restore you, that will uplift you, that will help you grow into the fullest version of yourself. And as you step away, as you let go of the people whose spirits are clouded with negativity, you create the space for the right people, those who will nourish, support, and challenge you in the best possible ways to enter your life. Remember, walking away is not a defeat. It is not a failure. It is a victory. It is a reclaiming of your own spirit, a step toward your own peace, and a step toward the divine purpose that has always been with you. God is always speaking to you through the quiet whispers of your heart, through the subtle nudges of your soul. And when you walk away from people with the wrong spirit, you are not abandoning them, you are walking toward your own peace, your own clarity, and your own light. And so, my friends, embrace this truth. Trust in the wisdom that guides you. For when you walk away from those who seek to drain you, you are creating space for the beautiful, life-affirming energy that is your birthright. You are aligning yourself with the divine flow, with the peace and purpose that only comes when you are in harmony with your own soul. There is a truth that many of us forget, and it is a truth that lies at the very core of our well-being. Not all people carry a spirit that is aligned with yours. While it may be difficult to admit, some individuals, despite their seemingly good intentions or friendly faces, harbor an energy that can be destructive to your soul. Their presence in your life may begin subtly, but over time it becomes evident that they are not bringing you closer to your highest potential. Instead, they are pulling you into a downward spiral, whether it be with their negativity, their envy, or their hidden malice. And these individuals, whose very essence thrives on discord, on chaos, may not even be aware of the harm they are causing. They live in their own turmoil, and in turn they infect the space around them. You may wonder, why is it that some people seem to carry such destructive energy? The truth is, it is not always intentional. It is not necessarily born of malevolence. But there are people whose lives are so entwined with inner turmoil that they cannot help but project that onto others. Perhaps they carry unresolved pain from their past, or they are simply consumed with their own fears and insecurities. They may not even recognize that their constant complaining, gossiping, or criticism is tearing down the very people they claim to care about. What they do not understand is that negativity is a contagion. Like a virus, it spreads. And when you are exposed to it, you begin to absorb its effects. Slowly but surely, without even realizing how much of your peace is being stolen. And this is why God whispers to you in those moments of doubt, urging you to walk away. This is why the divine, in its infinite wisdom, knows that your soul cannot thrive in such an environment. You were not made to be constantly drained, constantly exposed to a toxic atmosphere that drains the very life from you. You were made to flourish, to live in harmony with the world and with the people who share that world with you. You were created to be in an environment where your spirit can rise, where your energy is not just maintained but elevated. It is when you stand in the midst of constant negativity that you lose touch with your own essence, your own purpose, and your own light. Walking away from people who carry this kind of energy is not a rejection of them as human beings. You are not saying that they are worthless or beyond redemption. What you are acknowledging is the simple truth that their presence in your life, their energy, does not align with your path. And in doing so, you are not only protecting your own well-being, but also giving them the space they need to confront their own issues. There is a certain sacredness in this, a quiet respect for the process of personal transformation. You cannot heal someone who does not wish to be healed, and if you continue to allow their negativity to invade your life, you will only be enabling their dysfunction, rather than encouraging them to face their own struggles. We are often led to believe that our worth is measured by how much we give, by how many people we try to save, by how much energy we pour into others. But the truth is, you cannot save anyone by sacrificing yourself. You cannot help someone else climb when you are stuck in the pit with them. In fact, when you remain in the company of those whose spirits are weighed down by negativity, you risk losing touch with your own higher self. You risk becoming consumed by the same doubts, fears, and insecurities that they carry. And so, the divine wisdom behind walking away is rooted in self-preservation. An act of love not just for yourself, but for the other person as well. By removing yourself from their destructive influence, you create the space for them to grow, to confront their own darkness, and to seek healing on their own terms. And here lies the crux of the matter. It is not about creating distance out of hostility or judgment. It is about recognizing that your energy is sacred, and it must be protected. You must learn to say no to what does not serve you, no to the people whose presence leaves you feeling drained, disoriented, or smaller than you truly are. By walking away, you honor your own essence, your own peace. You reclaim your right to stand in the fullness of who you are, unencumbered by the weight of other people's shadows. There is a deep wisdom in understanding that we cannot save everyone. We cannot carry the burdens of others when our own souls are in need of nourishment. Walking away is not an act of selfishness, but rather an act of wisdom. It is an acknowledgement that there are times when the most loving thing you can do is to step back, to let go, and to trust that everyone has their own journey to walk. You must trust that God will guide them just as He is guiding you. It is in this trust that you find peace, knowing that you are not abandoning anyone, but instead allowing them the space to find their own way. And so, my friends, when you feel that inner voice urging you to walk away from people with the wrong spirit, heed that call. Trust that it is divine wisdom guiding you towards a life that is more aligned with who you truly are. Your energy is precious, your time is sacred, and the company you keep plays a significant role in shaping the person you become. Walk away from what drains you and make room for what uplifts you. For when you let go of what no longer serves you, you create the space for something beautiful and transformative to enter your life. God is always speaking to you, and sometimes the greatest act of love you can show yourself is to walk away from the people who no longer serve your highest good. Trust in this wisdom. Trust in the peace that comes when you protect your spirit. And know that by walking away, you are walking towards a future filled with joy, harmony, and fulfillment. There is a great freedom in detachment, though many people fear it. We have been conditioned to believe that holding on is a sign of strength, that loyalty means staying even when our soul is telling us to leave, that endurance in relationships, no matter how draining, is a virtue. But what if true strength lies in knowing when to walk away? What if wisdom is not in clinging, but in releasing? There is a profound power in recognizing that not everything and everyone is meant to stay in your life. The art of detachment is not about coldness, nor is it about abandoning others without care. It is about understanding that you are not bound to people, places, or circumstances that stifle your growth, your peace, and your connection to something greater. When God urges you to walk away, it is not a punishment, it is a calling to reclaim yourself, to return to the path meant for you. Often we stay in situations long after we've outgrown them because of fear of loneliness, fear of uncertainty, fear of disappointing others. But clinging to what no longer serves you is like holding onto a rope that is burning your hands. The longer you grip it, the more pain you endure. The divine truth is this: when something is meant for you, it will never require you to lose yourself. Anything that demands that you shrink, suppress your spirit, or endure continuous pain is not aligned with your highest good. People who carry toxic energy, who feed off conflict and negativity, often rely on attachment to keep you in their space. They pull you in with guilt, obligation, or emotional manipulation. They may use words like, "You owe me," or "You're being selfish," or "If you leave, you'll regret it." But true love, true friendship, true connection does not hold you hostage. It does not guilt you into staying. When God is urging you to walk away, He is giving you permission to release yourself from what drains you. He is showing you that your spirit was not meant to be confined by toxic cycles. Detachment is not about walking away with bitterness or resentment. It is not about proving a point. It is about understanding that your energy is sacred and you must protect it. Sometimes we believe that if we just give people more time, they will change. If we love them harder, they will heal. But the truth is, you are not responsible for anyone else's transformation. You are responsible for your own peace. When you realize this, you begin to understand that letting go is not just an option. It is a necessity. There is also a misconception that detachment means being indifferent or emotionless. But detachment is not a lack of care. It is an understanding that love does not require possession. You can love someone and still let them go. You can care for someone and still choose to love them from a distance. Some people are not meant to walk with you forever, and that is okay. The seasons of life bring people in and take people out, and when we resist this natural flow, we create suffering for ourselves. When you embrace detachment, you also embrace trust. Trust that the space you create by walking away will be filled with something greater. Trust that when you release what no longer serves you, you make room for what does. But this trust requires faith. It requires the courage to walk into the unknown without needing to control the outcome. It requires you to believe that God is not asking you to leave something behind without preparing something better ahead. There is freedom in detachment because it allows you to move lightly through life. It frees you from carrying burdens that are not yours to hold. It allows you to breathe again, to regain clarity, to realign with what is meant for you. When you detach from people who carry negative energy, you allow yourself to be surrounded by those who uplift you, who nourish your soul instead of draining it. And so, if you feel the pull to walk away, listen. That is divine guidance. That is God reminding you that your soul was never meant to be entangled in chains of toxicity and pain. You are meant to be free, to flow, to grow. Trust in that truth. Trust in the wisdom of detachment. Trust that walking away is not an act of loss, but an act of alignment. There is a weight that comes with staying connected to people who carry the wrong spirit. It is an invisible burden, one that settles deep into your soul, slowly draining your energy, your clarity, your joy. At first it may not even be noticeable. You convince yourself that you are strong enough to endure it, that their negativity will not affect you, that their presence in your life is something you can manage. But over time, you begin to feel it, the heaviness, the exhaustion, the quiet erosion of your peace. It does not happen all at once. It is gradual, subtle, like a slow leak that eventually leaves you empty. And yet, so many people choose to ignore this feeling. They convince themselves that walking away is unkind, that distancing themselves is a sign of weakness or betrayal. But the truth is, recognizing when a person's spirit is harming yours is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of wisdom. There are people whose energy is so deeply rooted in fear, resentment, or conflict that they unknowingly spread that energy to everyone around them. They are quick to anger, quick to judge, quick to find fault in everything and everyone. Their conversations revolve around criticism and complaints. Their presence feels like a storm cloud looming over your mind. They bring chaos where there should be peace, confusion where there should be clarity. And despite your best efforts to shield yourself, their energy seeps into your thoughts, into your emotions, into the very way you see the world. Without realizing it, you start to carry their burdens as if they are your own. God does not want you to live in that state of constant emotional exhaustion. He does not want you to sacrifice your well-being for the sake of keeping unhealthy relationships alive. He wants you to be surrounded by people who encourage your spirit, who uplift you rather than weigh you down. But the only way to make room for those people is to walk away from the ones who bring only darkness into your life. And that is where so many struggle, because walking away requires courage. It requires a willingness to release not only the person, but also the idea of who you thought they could be. It requires accepting that some relationships cannot be fixed, that some people are not meant to walk with you forever, no matter how much you may wish they could. One of the greatest deceptions people fall into is believing that love means endurance at all costs, that if you truly care about someone, you must continue to tolerate their behavior, no matter how harmful it is to your spirit. But love is not the willingness to endure suffering for another. Love is knowing when to set boundaries, when to say enough, when to protect yourself from harm. God does not ask you to stay in relationships that destroy you. He does not ask you to pour your energy into people who only take from you, never giving anything in return. Instead, He calls you to protect your spirit, to walk away when staying means losing yourself. Some people will try to make you feel guilty for leaving. They will call you selfish, accuse you of abandoning them, try to manipulate you into staying where you no longer belong. But guilt is not a reason to keep a relationship alive. A connection that requires you to betray yourself is not a connection worth keeping. Walking away does not mean you wish them harm. It does not mean you stop praying for them, or that you hope they fail. It simply means you recognize that their path is not meant to intertwine with yours any longer. When you release these people, something incredible happens. You feel lighter. You begin to see the world more clearly. You remember what it feels like to wake up without the weight of someone else's negativity pressing down on you. And most importantly, you create space for the right people to come into your life. People who bring peace rather than chaos, love rather than judgment, support rather than silent resentment. But that cannot happen until you take that first step, until you find the courage to walk away from what no longer serves you. And so, if you feel that nudge in your soul, that quiet voice telling you it is time to let go, listen to it. That is not fear speaking, it is wisdom. It is God's way of guiding you toward a life that is free, a life that is filled with the kind of energy that nurtures your spirit rather than drains it. Trust in that guidance. Trust that when you walk away from what weighs you down, you are walking toward the life you were always meant to live. There is a sacredness in knowing when to walk away. It is not an act of rejection, nor is it an act of cruelty. It is an acknowledgement of what your soul already knows, that not every connection is meant to last, that not every person who enters your life is meant to stay. And yet we struggle with this truth. We hold on longer than we should, trying to fix what is broken, trying to heal people who do not wish to be healed, trying to force harmony where there is only discord. But in doing so, we betray ourselves. We deny the voice of God, the quiet yet persistent whisper telling us that it is time to move on. Because deep down, we know. We know when a relationship is taking more than it is giving. We know when someone's spirit is not in alignment with ours. We feel the unease, the exhaustion, the growing sense that we are not where we are supposed to be. But still we resist, still we cling, out of fear, out of guilt, out of the illusion that letting go means failure. But walking away is not failure. It is an act of trust. It is trusting that when something is no longer meant for you, releasing it is an act of faith. It is trusting that when God removes someone from your life, He is making space for something greater. It is trusting that detachment is not a loss, but a redirection, a stepping stone toward the life you were meant to live. And yet, we often delay this process, thinking we must have certainty before we let go. We want to know what comes next. We want assurance that we will not be alone. We want a guarantee that by walking away we will step into something better. But that is not how faith works. Faith is stepping forward even when the path is unclear. Faith is trusting that what God has for you will never require you to shrink, to suffer, to silence your own needs just to keep someone else comfortable. Some people will not understand why you are walking away. They will question your decision, accuse you of being too harsh, too unforgiving. They will try to pull you back in, using words that play on your emotions, using memories as a chain to keep you bound to a relationship that no longer serves you. But you must not waver. You must not allow guilt to override the truth that you already know in your heart. Because when God calls you to walk away, He is not asking for your opinion. He is not asking you to weigh the pros and cons or to seek approval from others. He is telling you that this season has ended, and when a season ends, no amount of holding on can change that. There will be grief in this process. There will be moments of doubt, moments where you wonder if you made the right decision, moments where you miss what was familiar, even if it was unhealthy. But do not confuse nostalgia with purpose. Do not mistake missing someone for a sign that you should return. You can miss something and still know that it was not meant for you. You can remember the good moments and still understand that the overall connection was not aligned with your growth. And when you find yourself questioning, remember this: peace is the greatest confirmation. If staying feels like a battle, if your spirit is restless, if your energy is constantly drained, that is all the clarity you need. Walking away is not about closing your heart. It is about making room for the right people, the right experiences, the right energy. It is about stepping fully into the life that is waiting for you on the other side of your fear. Because when you finally release what was never meant to stay, you will feel it, a lightness, a freedom, a sense of alignment that cannot be explained but only experienced. And in that moment, you will understand why God was urging you to walk away all along.